Emily Carter thought she was just delivering conference schedules when she accidentally walked into the wrong hotel room. But what she found behind that door would change her life forever. Malcolm Reed, a millionaire who hadn't touched a woman in 10 years, was about to break his own carefully constructed walls. She was a struggling single mother with nothing to offer but honesty. He was a man who'd sworn off intimacy after being betrayed by someone he loved. But one collision, one moment of raw vulnerability, would force them both to choose between the safety of isolation and the terrifying risk of opening their hearts again. What Emily didn't know was that her coworker was already planting seeds of doubt, warning her that rich men don't stick around, that she was setting herself up for heartbreak. Would Malcolm prove everyone wrong, or would history repeat itself in the cruelest way possible? If you're watching this, drop a comment and tell me what city you're from, because this love story is about to get real. The hallway stretched endlessly before Emily Carter, her sneakers squeaking against polished marble as she hurried toward the conference wing. Her hands clutched a folder of reassigned room schedules, papers threatening to spill with each rush step. The Grand Harbor Hotel rose 20 stories above downtown, all glass and modern elegance, and right now it felt like a maze designed to make her late. "Room 1847, she muttered, squinting at the hastily scribbled note from her supervisor. The conference had been chaos all day. Double bookings, last-minute changes, speakers arriving early. Emily had volunteered for the late shift because it paid better, and better pay meant groceries that lasted past Thursday. She rounded a corner too fast, her shoulder grazing the wall. The elevator bay appeared ahead, golden light spilling across cream-colored carpet. She'd been working hotel conferences for 3 years now, ever since Lily was 3, and she prided herself on never making mistakes. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime. Emily stepped inside, pressing the button for the 18th floor. She caught her reflection in the mirrored wall, brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, minimal makeup, the same navy blazer she wore to every event, presentable, professional, forgettable. The doors slid open on 18. Emily checked the folder again as she walked. Room 1847 needed the updated speaker schedule for tomorrow's morning session. Simple task, in and out. She found the door halfway down the corridor. Her mind was already moving to the next task, checking on the banquet setup, confirming tomorrow's breakfast count, making sure Lily's babysitter knew she'd be home by 11. She knocked twice, waited 3 seconds, then used her master access card. The lock clicked green. Emily pushed the door open, stepping into what she thought was a small conference room. It wasn't. She registered several things at once. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking city lights, a leather sofa, soft jazz playing from hidden speakers, and a man emerging from an adjoining room, barefoot, in dress pants and an unbuttoned white shirt. They collided. Not dramatically, Emily wasn't running, but enough that her folder flew from her hands, papers scattering across dark hardwood floors. She stumbled backward, catching herself against the doorframe. "I'm so sorry," she gasped. "I thought... the room number..." The man stood perfectly still. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark skin and close-cropped hair. His expression registered surprise, but not alarm. His hands, which had instinctively reached out to steady her, now hung at his sides. "This is the executive suite," he said quietly. His voice was deep, controlled, with a precision that suggested every word was chosen carefully. Emily's heart hammered against her ribs. I didn't know. I was supposed to deliver schedules to 1847, but that's supposed to be the Magnolia conference room, not... She gestured helplessly at the obvious luxury surrounding them. The man bent down, gathering her scattered papers with methodical movements. He didn't seem angry. That somehow made it worse. "I'm calling security," Emily said, pulling out her phone with shaking hands. "This is my fault. I should have checked twice. I should have..." "Don't." He straightened, holding her folder. "It's a hotel mistake, not yours. But I entered your room. I used my access card without verifying. Did you intend to?" "What?" "No, of course not." "Then there's no problem." He extended the folder toward her. His fingernails were clean, neatly trimmed. An expensive watch circled his wrist. "Room numbers get mixed up during conferences. It happens." Emily took the folder, careful not to touch his hand. "I still need to report this. Hotel policy. To protect yourself or to get yourself in trouble?" The question caught her off guard. She met his eyes for the first time, dark brown, calm, studying her with an intensity that felt like being seen through. Not in a threatening way, more like he was genuinely curious about her answer. Both, maybe, she admitted. Something shifted in his expression. Not quite a smile, but close. I'm Malcolm Reed. I own 15% of this hotel chain. Emily's stomach dropped. Oh, God. That's not why I mentioned it. I mentioned it so you'd understand I'm not going to report a simple mistake. He moved toward the door, his movements unhurried, and gently closed it. But I would like to know your name. Emily Carter. She realized she was still standing in the entryway, frozen. I'm a conference assistant. I work the evening coordination shifts. Is someone expecting you somewhere right now? Yes, I have 5 more rooms to visit. Then I'm keeping you from your work, Malcolm gestured toward the sofa. Unless you'd like to sit down for a moment, you look shaken. Emily shook her head. I'm fine. I should go. You're trembling. She looked down at her hands. He was right. The folder quivered slightly. It's been a long day. Malcolm walked to a small bar area near the windows. He filled a glass with water from a filtered pitcher, no ice, and brought it to her. He didn't come too close, stopping a full arm's length away. I'm not going to hurt you, he said quietly, and I'm not going to report you. But if you leave now, you're going to spend the rest of your shift worrying you'll lose your job. So sit, drink water, breathe, then go finish your work. Emily hesitated. Everything about this was wrong. Being in a guest suite, accepting his hospitality, staying longer than necessary. But he was right about the anxiety. It was already building, a tight band around her chest that would follow her through every task for the rest of the night. She sat on the edge of the sofa, folder on her lap like a shield. Malcolm handed her the water and then moved away, choosing an armchair across the coffee table. The distance felt deliberate, respectful. Thank you, Emily said. She sipped the water, felt it cool her throat. You said you work evening shifts. Is that by choice? It pays better, and I have a daughter. The evening rate helps with daycare. How old? 6. Emily wasn't sure why she was answering his questions, maybe because he asked them like he actually wanted to know. Her name's Lily. And her father? Emily's grip tightened on the glass. Not in the picture. Malcolm nodded once. He didn't push, didn't offer sympathy or judgment, just acknowledged the fact. They sat in silence. Jazz played softly from the speakers, something with piano and upright bass, mellow and unobtrusive. Through the windows, downtown stretched out in patterns of light and shadow. Emily could see other office buildings, apartment towers, the distant curve of the harbor. Can I ask you something? Malcolm said. I guess that's only fair. Why did you apologize first, before you understood what happened? Emily frowned. Because I made a mistake. Did you? Or did someone write down the wrong room number? I still should have verified. So you carry responsibility for other people's errors. It wasn't really a question. Emily felt defensive anyway. That's how you keep a job. You don't make excuses. There's a difference between making excuses and recognizing what's actually your fault. Malcolm leaned back slightly, his hands resting on the chair arms. You've been working here 3 years? You remembered that? I pay attention. Why? He considered the question. Because most people don't. Emily didn't know what to make of him. He spoke like someone who measured his words, who didn't waste breath on small talk. His suite was immaculate. No scattered clothes, no room service trays, nothing out of place. Even his bare feet seemed intentional, like he'd made a conscious choice to remove his shoes. I should go, she said again, but she didn't stand up. Malcolm studied her for a long moment. Then he said something she didn't expect. I haven't touched a woman in 10 years. Emily blinked. What? I'm telling you because you're probably wondering why I'm being so formal. Why I stood so far away when I handed you water. Why I'm sitting over here instead of next to you. His expression didn't change, but something in his voice shifted. A hairline crack in careful control. I don't do intimacy. I don't do closeness. I'm very deliberate about distance. That's, Emily searched for words. That's a really personal thing to tell a stranger. You're not exactly a stranger now. You crashed into my hotel room. You told me about your daughter." He paused. "And I'm telling you this so you understand it's not about you. You're probably attractive. I wouldn't really know. I don't let myself think that way." Emily set the water glass on the coffee table. Her hands had stopped shaking. "Why 10 years? Because I needed to. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now." She should leave. She should absolutely leave. But something in his honesty anchored her to the sofa. Here was a man who owned part of a luxury hotel chain, who probably had more money than she'd see in her lifetime, admitting something vulnerable without seeming to want anything in return. "Did someone hurt you?" Emily asked softly. Malcolm's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I hurt myself. By choosing wrong. By trusting too easily." He stood up slowly, moving to the windows. 10 years ago, I decided I was done with that. Done with letting people close enough to disappoint me. It's been easier that way." "Easier," Emily repeated, "but not happier." He turned to look at her. "No, not happier." They held each other's gaze across the room. Emily felt something shift in the air between them. Not attraction exactly, but recognition. Like seeing your own loneliness reflected in someone else's eyes. "Thank you for trusting me with that," she said finally. Malcolm returned to his chair. "Will you tell people, the other conference staff?" "No, of course not." "Why not?" "Because it's yours, not mine to share." He nodded slowly. "That's rare." "What is?" "Discretion, without a reason." Emily picked up her folder, standing this time. Her legs felt steadier. "I really do need to finish my rounds. But thank you. For the water, and for not calling security, and for—" She trailed off, not sure how to finish. "For being honest?" Malcolm suggested. "Yeah, that." He walked her to the door, but stopped before opening it. "The scheduling issue. The mixed-up room numbers. I'll mention it to management. Make sure it doesn't affect your record." "You don't have to do that." "I know, but mistakes that aren't yours shouldn't cost you." He opened the door, holding it. "Good night, Emily." "Good night, Mr. Reed." "Malcolm," he corrected. Emily stepped into the hallway. She turned back once, finding him still standing in the doorway, backlit by the soft glow of his suite. He raised one hand in a small wave, the gesture oddly formal, like he wasn't quite sure how to do it. Then he closed the door. Emily stood in the corridor for a moment, folder pressed against her chest. Her heart was still beating faster than normal, but not from fear anymore, from something else, something she didn't have a name for yet. She had 4 more rooms to visit. She had schedules to deliver and tasks to complete. She had to pick up Lily from the babysitter's house in 3 hours. But as she walked toward the elevator, she couldn't stop replaying the conversation in her mind. The strange, careful honesty of it, the way Malcolm had looked at her, not like a woman, he'd said, because he didn't let himself, but like a person, someone worth listening to. The elevator doors opened. Emily stepped inside and pressed the button for the 19th floor. Her reflection stared back at her from the mirrored wall. Same ponytail, same blazer, same tired eyes. But something felt different now. Something had shifted. Morning light filtered through the hotel's atrium windows, casting geometric patterns across white tablecloths in the breakfast area. Emily moved between tables with a coffee carafe, refilling cups and checking that every guest had what they needed. She'd been up since 5:30, getting Lily ready for school and dropping her at the before care program. Her mind kept drifting back to the night before. Malcolm Reed's suite, his confession, the strange intimacy of honesty between strangers. She told herself to forget it. Men like that, wealthy, educated, owning pieces of hotels, didn't think twice about women like her. He'd been kind, yes, but kindness didn't mean anything beyond the moment. "Mommy!" Emily turned to see Lily running across the atrium, her purple backpack bouncing. Rachel Moore, Emily's co-worker and closest friend at the hotel, trailed behind with an apologetic expression. "I'm so sorry," Rachel said, reaching Emily. "I ran into her in the lobby. She said she forgot her lunch money." Emily crouched down to Lily's level. "Baby, I put $5 in your backpack pocket this morning." Lily's face scrunched up. "But that was for yesterday." "Yesterday was Saturday. There's no school on Saturday." "Oh," Lily brightened immediately. "Then I have lunch money." Emily kissed her forehead. "Go check, but do it fast. The bus will be here soon." Lily dug into her backpack, pulled out a crumpled $5 bill, and waved it triumphantly. Found it. Bye, Mommy. She started to run off, then stopped and ran back. I love you. I love you too. Have a good day at school. Emily watched her daughter disappear through the revolving doors toward the bus stop across the street. 6 years old and already so independent. It terrified and amazed her in equal measure. She's getting so big, Rachel said, shaking her head. Remember when she used to cry every time you dropped her off? Don't remind me. Emily stood up, adjusting her blazer. What are you doing here so early? Covering the breakfast shift. Maria called in sick. Rachel lowered her voice. Did you hear about the room number mix-up last night? Emily's chest tightened. What about it? Apparently someone on the conference staff walked into Malcolm Reed's executive suite by mistake. Management's investigating. Investigating what? It was just a wrong room number. Rachel raised an eyebrow. You know how they are. They want to make sure it wasn't intentional, like someone was trying to get access to a high-profile guest. That's ridiculous. I'm just telling you what I heard. Rachel glanced around, making sure no other staff were nearby. Between you and me, I think Malcolm Reed asked them to drop it. Apparently he called the front desk himself and said it was a hotel error, not a staff problem. Emily felt something warm unfold in her chest. He'd kept his promise. Well, that's good, she managed to say. One less thing for everyone to worry about. Rachel studied her face. You okay? You look distracted. Just tired. Long day yesterday. Tell me about it. This conference has been a nightmare. Rachel's radio crackled with a request from the kitchen. I gotta go. Coffee break later? Maybe, if I have time. Rachel headed toward the service corridor, leaving Emily alone with her thoughts in a half-full coffee carafe. She finished her rounds mechanically, her mind elsewhere. She shouldn't care that Malcolm had followed through. It was just professional courtesy. He'd said the mistake wasn't hers, and he'd made sure management knew it. That was all. But it felt like more than that. It felt like being seen. Like mattering, even in a small way, to someone who didn't have to care. Emily was refilling the cream dispensers when she felt someone watching her. She looked up, scanning the breakfast area. Malcolm sat alone at a corner table, dressed in dark slacks and a gray button-down shirt. He had a laptop open in front of him, a plate of barely touched eggs and toast nearby. His eyes met hers across the room. Emily's breath caught. She hadn't expected to see him again. Hadn't let herself think about seeing him again. He didn't smile, didn't wave, just held her gaze for a long moment before returning his attention to his laptop. It should have felt like nothing. A stranger glancing at hotel staff. But Emily's hands trembled slightly as she finished with the cream dispensers. She shouldn't go over there. She had work to do, tables to clear, guests to attend to. She walked toward his table anyway. Good morning, she said quietly, stopping a respectful distance away. Can I get you more coffee? Malcolm looked up from his screen. Emily. He said her name like he'd been thinking it. Yes, coffee would be good. She poured carefully, aware of his attention on her hands. I heard you spoke to management about the room numbers. I said it was a hotel issue, which it was. Thank you. You don't need to thank me for telling the truth. He closed his laptop slightly, not all the way. Is that your daughter I saw a moment ago? Emily's protective instincts flared immediately. Yes? Why? I just wondered. She looks like you. The defensiveness eased but didn't disappear. She forgot something. I work here, so it's easy for her to stop by. That's good. That you're close. Malcolm picked up his coffee cup but didn't drink. I saw how she hugged you. Most kids that age are trying to be too cool for affection. Lily's never been too cool for hugs. You're lucky. Emily refilled the water glass he hadn't touched. Do you have children? No. Have you ever wanted them? The question came out before she could stop it. Too personal, too direct, but Malcolm didn't seem bothered. I don't let myself think about it. Children require emotional availability, connection, things I'm not good at. You were available last night, when I barged into your room. That was different. How? It was temporary, contained, no expectations beyond the moment. He finally sipped his coffee, his eyes never leaving hers. Children deserve more than temporary. Emily thought about Lily's father. about the man who'd promised forever and disappeared before their daughter's first birthday. Some people give children temporary, even when they promise more. Did Lily's father do that? Yes. Then he was a coward. The blunt assessment surprised her. Most people offered sympathy or tried to soften it somehow. Malcolm just named it. I should let you eat, Emily said, gesturing toward his untouched plate. I'm not hungry. You ordered it. Force of habit. I'm supposed to eat breakfast. He pushed the plate slightly away. Do you eat breakfast? When I have time, usually I just drink coffee. That's not healthy. Emily couldn't help smiling a little. Says the man not eating his eggs. Fair point. Malcolm stood up and Emily realized how tall he was, at least 6'2". He pulled out his wallet, placed cash on the table, more than enough to cover his meal. I have meetings all day, but I'll be having coffee in the Atrium Cafe around 4 o'clock. If you have a break then, I'd like to continue our conversation. Why? Because I want to. That's not an answer. He almost smiled. Almost. It's the only one I have right now. Emily's own words from last night reflected back at her. She felt something flutter in her chest, nervousness maybe, or anticipation. I'll think about it, she said. That's all I'm asking. Malcolm picked up his laptop and headed toward the elevators. Emily watched him go, then looked down at the cash on the table. 2 20s for a $12 breakfast. She pocketed the tip, cleared his dishes, and tried to focus on her next task. But all day, as she coordinated meeting rooms and checked registration tables and fielded guest questions, part of her mind stayed on that invitation. 4 o'clock. The Atrium Cafe. A simple coffee. She shouldn't go. She should keep her distance. Men with money wanted women for temporary comfort, and Emily had Lily to think about. She couldn't afford distractions, couldn't afford to trust someone whose life was completely different from hers. But another part of her, the part that had been lonely for so long, she'd forgotten what connection felt like, wanted to say yes. 3:45 arrived. Emily stood in the staff break room, staring at her reflection in the bathroom mirror. Same ponytail, same blazer, same careful, neutral expression. She could stay here. She could finish her shift without going anywhere near the cafe. Malcolm would understand. Or he wouldn't. Either way, it wouldn't matter. She thought about his words. I haven't touched a woman in 10 years. She thought about her own isolation, the way she'd built walls around herself after Lily's father left, the careful distance she kept from everyone except her daughter. Maybe that's why his honesty had affected her, because she recognized it, because she lived it too. Emily took a breath, smoothed her blazer, and walked toward the Atrium Cafe. Malcolm sat at a small table near the windows, 2 coffee cups already waiting. He saw her coming and stood up, a gesture that felt both old-fashioned and genuine. You came, he said simply. I came. Emily sat down, accepting the coffee he'd ordered for her. Black, right? How did you know? You didn't ask for cream or sugar at breakfast. Observant? Occupational habit. You learn to notice what guests need. She wrapped her hands around the warm cup. So what did you want to talk about? Malcolm sat across from her. Honestly, I don't know. I just knew I wanted to see you again. Why? Because you didn't treat me like I was different. Last night, after you knew who I was, you didn't change. You didn't start performing. Performing? Most people do when they know you have money. They either want something from you or they treat you like you're made of glass. He stirred his coffee unnecessarily. You just stayed yourself. Emily considered that. I guess I've spent too much time worried about paying rent to be impressed by people who don't have to. No offense. None taken. It's refreshing. They drank coffee in comfortable silence. The atrium buzzed softly around them, guests checking in, business people hurrying through, the gentle hum of hotel life. Can I ask you something personal? Emily said. You can ask, I might not answer. Why 10 years? What happened? Malcolm's expression closed slightly. Not angry, just careful. I fell in love with someone who loved my money more than she loved me. When I figured that out, it broke something in me, made me realize I'd been a fool. So I decided to stop being one. By never letting anyone close again. By being intentional about who I let into my life. By recognizing that most people are temporary and that's okay. He met her eyes. I'm not bitter about it. I just chose clarity over hope. That sounds lonely. It is. He said it simply, like stating a fact. But loneliness is manageable. Betrayal isn't. Emily thought about Lily's father, about coming home from work to find half his clothes gone and a note on the kitchen table. I can't do this. I'm not ready. I'm sorry. I understand, she said quietly. I think you do. They talked for an hour. About small things, favorite movies neither of them had time to watch, books gathering dust on nightstands, the strange isolation of being surrounded by people all day but never really connecting. Emily told him about Lily's obsession with butterflies. Malcolm told her about his Uncle Jonathan, the only family member he still talked to regularly. When Emily finally looked at her watch, it was after 5. I have to pick up Lily, she said reluctantly. Of course. Malcolm stood when she did. Thank you for the coffee. You bought the coffee? I meant for the conversation. Emily smiled, really smiled, not the professional version she wore at work. You're welcome. She started to leave, then turned back. Malcolm, can I ask you something else? Yes. Are you afraid of me? He considered the question seriously. Yes. Why? Because you make me want things I convinced myself I didn't need. His honesty was brutal, unflinching. And that's terrifying. Emily didn't know what to say to that, so she just nodded, holding his gaze for one more moment. Then she left the cafe, her heart beating faster than it should. Behind her, Malcolm sat back down. He didn't open his laptop, didn't check his phone, just stared at his empty coffee cup and wondered what the hell he was doing. For 10 years, he'd kept himself safe. For 10 years, he'd kept himself separate. And now, after 2 conversations with a woman he barely knew, all that careful distance felt like it was crumbling. He should stop this. Should go back to his suite and forget about Emily Carter and her daughter and the way honesty felt when it wasn't wrapped in performance. But he didn't move. He just sat there, watching the space where she'd been, and felt afraid. 3 days passed. Emily told herself she wasn't waiting to see Malcolm again. She had work to focus on. The conference was in full swing, with morning seminars bleeding into afternoon workshops and evening networking events. She coordinated room setups, managed speaker schedules, fielded complaints about coffee temperatures and projector malfunctions. She didn't have time to think about dark brown eyes and careful honesty. Except, she did think about it. During quiet moments between tasks, while driving Lily to school, in the middle of the night when sleep wouldn't come. She thought about the way Malcolm had said he was afraid of her. Most men pretended they weren't afraid of anything, but he'd just admitted it, simple and direct, like fear was something you could name without shame. On Thursday morning, Emily found a note slipped under the break room door. Hotel stationery, expensive paper, precise handwriting. Emily, I'd like to see you again. Not coffee this time, something more. Dinner tomorrow night if you're willing. I'll arrange childcare for Lily if that helps. No pressure, just hope. Emily read it 3 times, standing in the fluorescent-lit break room with the hum of the industrial refrigerator behind her. Just hope. Those 2 words undid her careful defenses more than anything else could have. She folded the note and tucked it into her pocket. She had 4 hours left on her shift. She had to think about this carefully, logically, without letting emotion make her stupid. But by lunchtime, she'd already made her decision. She found Malcolm in the hotel business center, sitting at one of the private workstations. He looked up when she knocked on the glass door, and something flickered across his face. Relief, maybe, or nervousness. Hi, Emily said, stepping inside. The room smelled like leather and paper. Hi. Malcolm saved whatever he'd been working on and gave her his full attention. You got my note? Yes. And? Emily pulled out a chair and sat down across from him. I don't need you to arrange childcare. Rachel watches Lily sometimes when I have evening shifts. She's good with kids. Okay. And I can't do anything fancy. I don't have clothes for expensive restaurants. We'll go somewhere casual. And I need to be clear about something. Emily looked directly at him. I have a daughter. She comes first. Always. If you're looking for something temporary, something that doesn't matter, I can't do that. I won't risk confusing her or making her think someone's permanent when they're not. Malcolm listened without interrupting. When she finished, he leaned forward slightly. I'm not looking for temporary. I don't know what I'm looking for, honestly. but I know it matters. You matter. Even after 3 conversations, I know that much. Why? Because you're real. Because you don't pretend. Because when I'm with you, I don't feel like I have to perform either. He paused. Because you're raising a daughter by yourself and still manage to be kind instead of bitter. That's rare, Emily. That matters. She felt heat rise in her cheeks. I'm bitter sometimes. But you don't let it define you. How do you know? You barely know me. Then let me know you better. That's all I'm asking. Emily thought about the note in her pocket. Just hope. Friday night, she said. 7 o'clock, somewhere with good food but not intimidating. Malcolm smiled, a real smile this time, not just the ghost of one. It transformed his face, made him look younger. I know a place. Can I pick you up? I'll, meet you there. Text me the address. She stood up, suddenly nervous about being in this small room with him. I should get back to work. Emily, she turned at the door. Thank you, Malcolm said quietly, for giving this a chance. Don't thank me yet. I might be terrible company at dinner. I doubt that. Emily left before she could say something foolish. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she walked back toward the conference wing. She just agreed to a date. A real date, not just coffee. With a man who owned pieces of hotels and probably dated women who wore designer clothes and knew which fork to use. What was she thinking? But underneath the nervousness, something else stirred. Something that felt like possibility. Like maybe, just maybe, opening your heart didn't always lead to pain. Friday evening arrived too quickly. Emily stood in her small apartment bedroom, staring at her limited wardrobe with growing panic. Lily sat on the bed behind her, legs swinging, watching with 6-year-old fascination. Why are you trying on so many clothes? Lily asked. Because I want to look nice. You always look nice, Mommy. That's sweet, baby, but this is different. Because you're going on a date? Emily turned around. How did you know that? Lily grinned, showing the gap where her front tooth had fallen out last week. Rachel told me. She said you're going to dinner with a nice man. Rachel talks too much. Is he nice? The man? Emily sat down on the bed next to her daughter. Lily immediately leaned against her side, warm and solid and trusting. I think so. I'm still figuring it out. What's his name? Malcolm. That's a fancy name. Yeah, it is. Lily tilted her head, considering. Are you going to marry him? Lily, I barely know him. But if you did know him, would you marry him? Emily laughed despite her nerves. That's not how it works, baby. You have to spend time with someone first. Learn who they really are. Make sure they're kind and honest and that they care about the people in your life. Like me? Especially like you. Emily kissed the top of Lily's head. You're the most important person in the world to me. Anyone who wants to be part of my life has to understand that. Okay? Lily seemed satisfied with this answer. She pointed at Emily's closet. Wear the blue dress, the one with the buttons. Emily pulled out the dress Lily meant, navy blue, simple, with small white buttons down the front. She'd bought it at a thrift store 2 years ago for a wedding she'd attended. It was the nicest thing she owned. You think this one? Yes, it makes you look pretty. Well, if you say so. Emily changed quickly, then stood in front of the mirror. The dress fit well, hitting just below her knees. Professional but not severe, appropriate for wherever Malcolm was taking her. She applied minimal makeup, mascara, lip gloss, a touch of blush. Her hands shook slightly as she worked. The doorbell rang at 6:45. Rachel, punctual as always. Emily opened the door to find her friend holding a bag of popcorn and a stack of children's movies. Emergency supplies, Rachel announced, sweeping past her, in case Lily gets bored with my sparkling personality. You didn't have to bring anything. Please, I'm watching your kid on a Friday night so you can go on a date with a literal millionaire. Bringing popcorn is the least I can do. Rachel looked Emily up and down. You look beautiful. It's just a dress. It's not just anything. You're glowing. Rachel lowered her voice. Are you nervous? Terrified. Good. That means it matters. Rachel squeezed her arm. Go, have fun. Don't worry about Lily. We're going to watch approximately 7 princess movies and eat our weight in popcorn. Don't let her stay up past 9. I know the rules. Now go before you talk yourself out of this. Emily kissed Lily goodbye, grabbed her purse, and headed out into the evening. The restaurant was 20 minutes away, in a neighborhood she didn't visit often, tree-lined streets, small shops, restaurants with outdoor seating and string lights. She found the place Malcolm had texted her about, a corner bistro with warm light spilling from large windows. Nothing intimidating, nothing that required knowing which fork to use. He'd listened. Emily parked and sat in her car for a moment, gathering courage. Through the window she could see Malcolm already seated at a table. He wore dark jeans and a simple button-down shirt, casual but put together. He was reading something on his phone, his expression focused. She got out of the car before she could change her mind. The restaurant was cozy inside, exposed brick, wooden tables, the smell of garlic and fresh bread. A hostess greeted her immediately. "I'm meeting someone," Emily said. "Malcolm Reed?" The hostess smiled knowingly and led her to his table. Malcolm stood when he saw her coming. That old-fashioned gesture again, the one that made her feel seen. "Emily, you look beautiful." "Thank you. You clean up nice yourself." They sat down. A small candle flickered between them. The menu was handwritten, featuring pasta and grilled meats and seasonal vegetables. Nothing overly complicated, nothing that cost more than Emily made in a day. "How's Lily?" Malcolm asked. "Currently planning to watch 7 princess movies with Rachel." 7? That's ambitious. That's 6-year-olds. Emily relaxed slightly. Talking about Lily always grounded her. She's obsessed with anything that has a princess or a talking animal. "Was she okay with you going out tonight?" "She asked if I was going to marry you." Malcolm's eyes widened. "That's direct." "That's Lily. She doesn't do subtle." Emily smiled. "I told her we barely know each other, that you have to spend time with someone before you make decisions like that." "What did she say to that?" "She told me to wear this dress." Malcolm looked at her dress for the first time. Really looked, not in a way that made her uncomfortable, but in a way that suggested he was trying to see what Lily saw. "She has good taste." A waiter appeared, young and friendly, and took their drink orders. Emily asked for water with lemon. Malcolm ordered the same. "No wine?" Emily asked after the waiter left. "I don't drink much. Alcohol makes it harder to stay in control." "Of what?" "Everything." Malcolm folded his hands on the table. "Emotions, reactions, the careful distance I keep between myself and other people." "That sounds exhausting." "It is, but it's also safe." They ordered food. Emily chose pasta with marinara sauce. Malcolm picked grilled chicken with vegetables. Simple, comfortable choices. Nothing that required performance. When the waiter left again, Malcolm leaned forward slightly. "Can I ask you something I've been wondering about?" "Okay." "When Lily's father left, how did you keep going?" Emily hadn't expected that question. Most people asked about the father himself, wanting gossip or drama. Malcolm was asking about her. "I didn't have a choice," she said honestly. "I had a 3-month-old baby who needed me, so I figured out childcare and found work and just kept moving, one day at a time." "Were you angry?" "Furious for months. I'd wake up angry and go to bed angry." She traced the rim of her water glass. "But anger doesn't pay rent. So I learned to put it away during the day and only let it out at night after Lily was asleep." "Do you still do that?" "Sometimes. Less now. Mostly I'm just tired." Malcolm studied her face. "You're 29 and you sound 50. Single parenthood ages you. Has anyone helped you? Family? Friends?" Emily shook her head. "My parents died in a car accident when I was 22. I have a sister in Oregon, but we're not close. And most of my friends from before. They disappeared when I became a single mom. Turns out people don't want to include you in their plans when you have a kid, and no babysitter money." "That must be lonely." "It is." Emily met his eyes. "But you know about lonely, don't you?" "Yes." "So why are you here? Why risk it?" Malcolm was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful, each word chosen. "Because I've spent 10 years being safe, and I'm starting to realize safe isn't the same as alive. Because you walked into my hotel room by accident and somehow made me want to try again." He paused. "Because maybe some people are worth the risk." Emily felt something crack open in her chest. "I don't know if I'm worth risking anything for." "That's not your decision to make." Their food arrived, interrupting the moment. They ate slowly, talking about safer topics. Lily's butterfly obsession, Malcolm's Uncle Jonathan, the chaos of hotel conferences. But underneath the casual conversation, something deeper was building. A foundation made of honesty and careful hope. After dinner, Malcolm walked her to her car. The street was quiet now, just the soft glow of string lights and the distant sound of traffic. Emily fumbled with her keys, suddenly aware of how close he was standing. "Thank you for tonight," she said. "Thank you for saying yes." Malcolm didn't move closer, respecting the space between them. "Can I see you again?" "When? Tomorrow? I know it's short notice." "Tomorrow's Saturday. I have Lily all day." "Bring her." Emily looked up sharply. "What?" "Bring Lily. We could go somewhere, a park maybe, or wherever she likes to go." Malcolm's expression was earnest. "I meant what I said about understanding she's your priority. I want to know her too, if you're comfortable with that." Emily's throat tightened. Every instinct told her to say no, to keep Lily separate, to protect her daughter from potential disappointment. But another part of her, the part that had watched Malcolm's careful honesty all evening, wanted to say yes. "There's a butterfly pavilion about 30 minutes from here," she heard herself say. "Lily's been begging to go for months, but it's expensive." "Then we'll go there. My treat." "Malcolm, I know. You don't want charity. This isn't charity. This is me wanting to spend time with you and your daughter doing something that makes her happy." He held her gaze. "Please." Emily thought about Lily's face when she talked about butterflies, about how much her daughter would love the pavilion, about how long it had been since they'd done something special together. "Okay," she said softly, "but if Lily seems uncomfortable at any point, we leave. No questions." "Agreed. And you have to promise me something else." "What?" "If you decide this isn't what you want, if you realize you're not ready for the reality of a woman with a kid, you tell me immediately. You don't drag it out. You don't let Lily get attached and then disappear." Malcolm's jaw tightened. "I won't do that." "How can you be sure?" "Because I know what it feels like to be abandoned. I wouldn't do that to anyone, especially not a child." His voice was fierce, almost angry. "I'm here, Emily. Really here. Not just for tonight or tomorrow, but for whatever this becomes. And if that changes, you'll be the first to know. I promise you that." Emily believed him. She didn't know why, after everything life had taught her about broken promises, but she believed him. "Okay," she whispered. Malcolm stepped closer, just one step, closing half the distance between them. "Can I hug you goodnight?" The question surprised her. Most men just took what they wanted, but Malcolm asked, giving her the choice. "Yes." He wrapped his arms around her carefully, like she might break. Emily let herself lean into his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart through his shirt. He was warm and solid and present. He smelled like soap and something woody, subtle, not overwhelming. They stood like that for a long moment. Then Malcolm stepped back, his hands sliding away slowly. "Good night, Emily." "Good night." Emily got in her car and watched him walk to his own vehicle, something expensive and dark that she didn't recognize the brand of. She waited until he drove away before starting her engine. On the drive home, she let herself feel it, the hope, the fear, the terrible, wonderful possibility that maybe this time would be different. Rachel was on the couch when Emily got home, Lily, asleep beside her with her head on Rachel's lap. The TV showed the menu screen of a Disney movie on endless repeat. "How'd it go?" Rachel whispered, carefully extracting herself from beneath Lily. "Good, really good." "Good enough for a second date?" "We're going to the butterfly pavilion tomorrow, the three of us." Rachel's eyebrows shot up. "He wants to meet Lily? Already?" "He asked. I said yes." Emily picked up her daughter gently, cradling her. Lily stirred but didn't wake. "Am I making a mistake?" "I don't know, but I know you're glowing, and I haven't seen that in years." Rachel gathered her things. "Just be careful, okay? Protect yourself. Protect her." "I will." After Rachel left, Emily carried Lily to bed and tucked her in. She stood in the doorway for a moment, watching her daughter sleep. Lily's face was peaceful, one hand curled beneath her cheek. Emily thought about Malcolm's promise, about the way he'd asked permission before hugging her, about how he'd wanted to include Lily instead of seeing her as an obstacle. Maybe, just maybe, some people kept their promises. Maybe some people stayed. Saturday morning dawned bright and clear. Lily woke up early, bouncing on Emily's bed with characteristic 6-year-old energy. "Is today the day?" she asked breathlessly. The day for what? Emily mumbled, still half asleep. The butterfly day. You said maybe we could go to the butterfly place. Emily sat up, rubbing her eyes. She'd told Lily about the plan last night after putting her to bed, whispering it like a secret. Yes, baby. Today's the day. But we're going with someone. Who? Malcolm, the man I had dinner with. Lily's eyes went wide. The fancy name man. That's the one. Is he nice? I think so, but you can decide for yourself. Lily considered this seriously. If he's mean, we leave? The second he's mean, we leave, I promise. Okay, Lily bounced off the bed. I need to wear my butterfly shirt. Emily spent the next hour helping Lily get ready. The coveted butterfly shirt, purple leggings, sneakers that lit up when she walked. Lily insisted on brushing her own hair, which resulted in a lopsided ponytail that Emily gently fixed. Malcolm was picking them up at 10. Emily checked her phone obsessively as the time approached. No cancellation texts, no excuses. At 9:58, a knock sounded at the door. Emily opened it to find Malcolm standing there in jeans and a navy Henley, looking more casual than she'd ever seen him. Less like a millionaire, more like a regular person. Hi, he said. Hi, come in, we're almost ready. Malcolm stepped into her small apartment. Emily watched him take it all in, the second-hand furniture, the crayon drawings taped to the walls, the pile of children's books on the coffee table. Their entire apartment could probably fit inside his hotel suite 3 times over. But Malcolm's expression didn't change. He just looked around with genuine interest. Lily appeared from the hallway, stopped dead when she saw him, and hid halfway behind Emily's leg. Malcolm crouched down to her level, making himself smaller. You must be Lily. I'm Malcolm. Your mom told me you love butterflies. Lily peeked out, curious. Do you love butterflies? I don't know much about them, but I'd like to learn. Will you teach me? That was apparently the right thing to say. Lily stepped forward, gaining confidence. There are lots of kinds. Monarchs and swallowtails and painted ladies. The pavilion has hundreds of them, and they land on you if you stay really still. That sounds amazing. Are you Mommy's boyfriend? Lily! Emily felt heat flood her cheeks, but Malcolm just smiled. Your mom and I are getting to know each other. Is that okay with you? Lily studied him with the brutal honesty of childhood. Are you going to be mean to her? No. Are you going to leave like my daddy did? Emily's heart cracked. Malcolm's expression shifted, something fierce and protective crossing his face. I'm not your daddy, he said gently, and I can't promise I'll never make mistakes, but I can promise I won't leave without saying goodbye. And I can promise I'll always try to be kind to your mom. Is that fair? Lily considered this for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, you can come to the butterfly place. Malcolm stood up, meeting Emily's eyes over Lily's head. She saw something there, understanding maybe, or determination. They drove to the pavilion in Malcolm's car, which was indeed expensive but not flashy. Lily chattered the entire way, telling Malcolm every butterfly fact she knew. He listened attentively, asking questions, treating her observations with the same seriousness he'd give an adult. The butterfly pavilion was magical. A massive greenhouse filled with flowering plants and hundreds of butterflies in every color imaginable. Lily's face lit up the moment they stepped inside, the warm, humid air wrapping around them like a blanket. There's one, Lily pointed at a blue morpho butterfly drifting past. They're from South America. How do you know that? Malcolm asked. Library books. Mommy takes me every week. They wandered through the greenhouse slowly. Butterflies landed on flowers, on leaves, occasionally on visitors who stood still enough. Lily moved from plant to plant, identifying species, narrating their characteristics. Malcolm stayed close to Emily, their shoulders occasionally brushing. She's incredible, he murmured. She's my whole world. I can see why. A monarch butterfly landed on Lily's outstretched finger. She froze, barely breathing, her face radiating pure joy. Emily pulled out her phone to take a picture, but her hands were shaking with emotion. Here, Malcolm gently took the phone. I'll get it. He captured the moment perfectly. Lily's wonder-struck face, the brilliant orange butterfly, sunlight filtering through greenhouse glass. When he handed the phone back, his fingers brushed Emily's. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For this, for being here, for treating her like she matters. She does matter. She's part of you. Something shifted in Emily's chest, something that felt dangerously like falling. They spent 2 hours in the pavilion. Malcolm bought Lily a butterfly identification book from the gift shop without being asked. He listened to her read descriptions of different species in the car on the way home. He treated a 6-year-old girl like her interests were important, like her knowledge was valuable. When they pulled up to Emily's apartment building, Lily unbuckled herself and leaned forward between the seats. Malcolm? Yes? Can you come have lunch with us? Mommy makes really good sandwiches. Malcolm looked at Emily. Is that okay? Emily thought about all the reasons she should say no, about moving too fast, about protecting boundaries, about not letting Lily get too attached. But Lily was already attached, and so maybe was she. Yes, Emily said. Lunch would be good. They ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches at Emily's small kitchen table. Lily showed Malcolm her butterfly drawings, each one carefully labeled with the species name. He studied each picture seriously, asking about colors and wing patterns. After lunch, Lily retreated to her room to play, leaving Emily and Malcolm alone in the living room. I should probably go, Malcolm said, but he didn't stand up. Probably, Emily agreed. She didn't want him to leave. They sat on opposite ends of the couch, a careful distance between them. Outside, they could hear neighborhood kids playing, someone mowing a lawn. Thank you for today, Emily said. Lily hasn't been that happy in a long time. She's easy to make happy, she just wants to be heard. Most people don't hear kids, they just tolerate them. I'm not most people. Malcolm turned slightly toward her. Emily, I need to tell you something. Her stomach clenched. Okay. Today scared me. Not because it was bad, because it was good. Really good, and that's terrifying. He ran a hand over his hair. 10 years ago, I shut myself down because getting hurt again felt impossible to survive. But being with you, being with Lily, it makes me want to open up again. And I don't know if I'm ready for that. Emily's throat tightened. Are you saying you want to stop this? Because I'd rather know now than, no, I'm saying I want to keep going. I'm just being honest that it scares me. He met her eyes. I'm asking you to be patient. I'm not good at this. I haven't done intimacy or emotional closeness in a decade. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to mess up too. I haven't dated anyone since Lily's father left. Emily pulled her knees up to her chest. I'm scared you'll realize I'm not worth the effort, that I'm just a single mom with debt in a small apartment and nothing exciting to offer. Emily, Malcolm shifted closer, not touching but near enough that she could feel his warmth. You're raising a brilliant, kind, curious child by yourself. You work hard at a job that doesn't pay enough. You still manage to be generous and honest instead of bitter. You're exactly worth the effort. How can you know that after 1 week? Because I've spent 10 years watching people perform. I know real when I see it. He held out his hand, palm up, giving her the choice. Emily took his hand, his fingers wrapped around hers carefully, like she was something precious. They sat like that until Lily came running back, butterfly book in hand, ready to share more facts. Malcolm released Emily's hand, but stayed close, listening to Lily with the same patient attention. Later, after Malcolm left and Lily was in bed, Emily stood in her bathroom staring at her reflection. Her cheeks were flushed. Her eyes were bright. She looked like someone who'd spent the day happy. She looked like someone who was falling in love. And that terrified her more than anything else, because loving someone meant they could leave. And Emily didn't know if she could survive being left again. But maybe, she thought, remembering Malcolm's honesty and Lily's laughter, maybe some risks were worth taking. Maybe some people kept their promises. Maybe this time would be different. She crawled into bed, her phone glowing on the nightstand with a text from Malcolm. Thank you for today. Thank you for trusting me with your daughter. Sleep well. Emily fell asleep with the phone still in her hand, smiling despite her fear. Outside her window, the neighborhood settled into night. Somewhere in the city, Malcolm lay awake in his hotel suite, staring at the ceiling, wondering how one woman and her daughter had dismantled 10 years of careful distance in less than a week. Wondering if opening his heart again would destroy him, wondering if it was already too late to stop. The next 2 weeks unfolded like something from a dream Emily kept expecting to end. Malcolm became part of their routine in small, steady ways. Nothing dramatic, nothing overwhelming. He'd meet them for breakfast before Lily's school. He'd walk with Emily during her afternoon breaks. On evenings when Emily worked late, he'd pick up Lily from Rachel's and take her for ice cream, texting Emily photos of her daughter's chocolate-covered smile. He was careful, always appropriate, always respectful of boundaries. He never pushed for more than Emily was ready to give. And somehow, that made her want to give him everything. They fell into a pattern. Tuesday and Thursday evenings became dinner nights, the three of them at casual restaurants where Lily could be herself without worrying about fancy manners. Saturdays were adventure days, the zoo, the science museum, the botanical gardens, simple places that didn't cost much but meant everything. Malcolm never flaunted his wealth. He drove a modest car when he was with them. He wore jeans and regular shirts. He split restaurant bills with Emily, even though she knew he could buy the entire restaurant without thinking twice. "You don't have to do that," Emily said one Thursday night, watching him count out bills. "I know, but this is a relationship, not a charity case. We share." Malcolm handed her half the check. "Unless you want me to pay for everything, I will if that's what you prefer." "No, I want to contribute. Emily struggled to explain. "I don't want you to think I expect you to take care of us." "Emily." Malcolm waited until she looked at him. "I know you don't expect that. That's one of the reasons I—" He stopped, seeming to catch himself. "One of the reasons you what?" "One of the reasons I trust you." He said it carefully, but Emily heard what he didn't say. "One of the reasons I'm falling for you." Lily was in the restaurant bathroom with an attendant, giving them a rare moment alone. Emily reached across the table and took Malcolm's hand. His fingers intertwined with hers immediately, like they'd been waiting for permission. "I trust you too," she said softly. Malcolm's thumb traced circles on her palm. "I want to kiss you. I've wanted to for days, but I keep waiting for the right moment." "What makes a moment right?" "When I'm sure it won't scare you away." Emily smiled. "I'm tougher than I look." "I know, but I'm not sure I am." Before Emily could respond, Lily came bouncing back, chattering about the fancy soap dispensers in the bathroom. Malcolm released Emily's hand naturally, turning his attention to Lily's story. But Emily felt the ghost of his touch for the rest of the evening. That night, after putting Lily to bed, Emily stood on her small apartment balcony. It was barely big enough for two people, overlooking a parking lot and a residential street. Nothing special, nothing beautiful. Her phone buzzed with a text from Malcolm. "I can't stop thinking about what I said at dinner." Emily typed back. "About kissing me? About being scared? I'm 42 years old, and I'm terrified of a simple kiss. That's ridiculous." "It's not ridiculous. It matters. That's why it's scary." Three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Can I see you tomorrow? Without Lily? Just us?" Emily's heart hammered. "Okay, when? I'll pick you up after your shift. We'll go somewhere we can talk." "Malcolm, if you're going to tell me this isn't working—" "I'm not, I promise. I just need to be honest with you about something." Face to face. Emily stared. At the phone, anxiety creeping up her spine. "Okay, tomorrow." She barely slept that night. By morning, she'd convinced herself Malcolm was ending things. He'd realized she was too complicated, too much baggage, not worth the effort. The kiss comment had been his way of letting her down gently. But he still showed up for breakfast, still listened to Lily's stories about her spelling test, still walked Emily to work and kissed her forehead before leaving, a gesture that had become routine but still made her breath catch. "I'll see you at 6, he said. "Malcolm, whatever you're worried about, stop. I'm not going anywhere." He held her gaze. 6 o'clock. Emily worked her shift in a fog of anxiety. Rachel noticed immediately. "You okay?" Rachel asked during their lunch break. "You've been staring at the same clipboard for 10 minutes. Malcolm wants to talk tonight, just the two of us. And you think he's breaking up with you? Aren't I right? That's what we need to talk means." Rachel shook her head. "Not always. Sometimes it means I have feelings and I don't know how to express them because I'm emotionally constipated." "That's not reassuring." "Emily," Rachel grabbed her shoulders, "that man looks at you like you hung the moon. He spent last Saturday teaching Lily how to identify cloud formations. He texts you good morning every single day. He's not going anywhere." "How can you be sure?" "Because I've watched men leave. They don't do it slowly. They don't keep showing up. They just disappear." Rachel squeezed her shoulders. "Malcolm's not disappearing. He's doing the opposite." Emily wanted to believe that. She really did. At 6 o'clock, Malcolm picked her up in the hotel parking lot. They drove in comfortable silence to a park on the edge of town, a place with walking trails and a small lake that reflected the evening sky. They walked side by side, not touching but close. The park was quiet except for birds and the distant sound of kids playing. "You've been worried all day," Malcolm said finally. "You said you needed to talk. That usually means bad news." "It's not bad news, it's just complicated." Malcolm stopped walking, turning to face her. "Emily, I told you I haven't touched a woman in 10 years, that I shut myself down after getting hurt." "I remember. What I didn't tell you is why it affected me so deeply." He looked out at the lake, his jaw tight. "Her name was Vanessa. We dated for 2 years. I thought we were building something real. I was ready to propose. But then I overheard her on the phone with her friend, talking about my earning potential and how she just had to put up with his boring personality a little longer." Emily's chest ached. "Malcolm." I confronted her. She didn't deny it. Said I should have known better than to think someone like her would want someone like me for anything other than money. Malcolm's voice was flat, emotionless, but Emily heard the pain underneath. "So I ended it, and I decided I was done. Done with trusting, done with hoping, done with letting anyone close enough to see my boring personality and tolerate it for a paycheck." "You're not boring." "Vanessa thought I was, and maybe she was right. I don't do exciting things. I don't party or socialize much. I work and I invest and I keep to myself. Not exactly thrilling." Emily stepped closer. "Malcolm, look at me." He did, reluctantly. "You spent last Saturday lying in grass teaching a 6-year-old about cumulus clouds. You memorized Lily's favorite butterfly species. You listened to her talk about spelling tests like they're the most important thing in the world. You ask me about my day and actually care about the answer. That's not boring. That's beautiful." Malcolm's eyes glistened slightly. "You really think that?" "I know that." Emily reached up and touched his face gently. "Vanessa was an idiot, and I'm sorry she hurt you, but I'm not her. I don't want your money. I don't even think about your money except to feel awkward that you have it, and I don't." "You don't have to feel awkward." "I know, but I do anyway." Emily dropped her hand. "Is that what you wanted to talk about? Vanessa?" "Partly. But also," Malcolm took a breath, "I wanted to tell you that I'm falling for you. Really falling. And it terrifies me because the last time I fell for someone, it destroyed me. But I can't stop it. Every time I see you, every conversation we have, every moment with Lily, it pulls me deeper. And I needed you to know that before I kiss you. Because when I kiss you, it's going to mean something. It's going to be me saying I'm all in, even though I'm scared. And I need to know if you're ready for that." Emily's heart pounded so hard she thought he could probably hear it. "Malcolm, you don't have to answer now. I just needed to be honest. To tell you what this means to me before we—" Emily kissed him. She stepped forward and pressed her lips to his, cutting off his careful explanation. For a heartbeat, Malcolm froze, surprised. Then his arms came around her waist, pulling her close, and he kissed her back. It was gentle at first, tentative, like they were both afraid of breaking something precious, but then Malcolm's hand moved to cup her face, and Emily's fingers tangled in his shirt, and the kiss deepened into something desperate and real. 10 years of distance, crumbling, 3 years of loneliness, easing. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Malcolm rested his forehead against hers. "I'm all in too," Emily whispered. "I'm scared too, but I'm all in." Malcolm's arms tightened around her. "Promise me something." "What?" "If this scares you too much, if you need space, if I do something wrong, talk to me. Don't just disappear. Don't let me wonder what I did." "I promise, but you have to promise me the same thing." "I do. I promise." They stood there for a long moment, holding each other as the sun set, over the lake. Emily felt safe in a way she hadn't felt in years. Like maybe finally, she'd found someone who wouldn't leave. They walked back to the car, hand in hand. Malcolm drove her home, and they sat in the parking lot for an hour, talking about everything and nothing, about childhood memories and future dreams and all the small details that build intimacy. When Emily finally went inside, she found Rachel on the couch with Lily, both of them asleep in front of another princess movie. Emily gently woke Rachel. "How'd it go?" Rachel mumbled, gathering her things. "Good. Really good." Emily couldn't stop smiling. "I told you, that man's in love with you." "He didn't say love." "He will. Give him time." Rachel hugged her at the door. "I'm happy for you, Em. You deserve this." After Rachel left, Emily checked on Lily, then went to her own room. She changed into pajamas and climbed into bed, her phone glowing with a message from Malcolm. "Thank you for tonight, for the kiss, for not running away. Sleep well." Emily typed back, "Thank you for being brave enough to tell me the truth. Sweet dreams." She fell asleep feeling hopeful, feeling like maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something that would last. The next week was the happiest of Emily's life. Malcolm integrated into their world completely. He learned Lily's schedule, remembered her preferences, treated Emily's daughter with genuine affection that had nothing to do with winning Emily over and everything to do with actually caring about a 6-year-old's joy. But on Thursday evening, something shifted. Emily was closing up the conference room after an event when she heard Rachel talking on her phone in the hallway. She wasn't trying to eavesdrop. She just happened to catch her own name. "I'm telling you, Emily's being naive," Rachel said. "These rich guys don't stick around. They get bored and move on to the next thing. I just don't want to see her get hurt." Emily froze. "I know she seems happy," Rachel continued, "but come on, what does a millionaire hotel investor want with a single mom making $15 an hour? Eventually he'll realize she doesn't fit into his world, and then what? Lily's already attached. This is going to be a disaster." Emily's chest tightened. She backed away quietly, not wanting to hear more. But the damage was done. Rachel's words echoed in her mind all evening. She picked up Lily mechanically, made dinner on autopilot, went through bedtime routine like a robot. What does a millionaire want with a single mom making $15 an hour? Emily stared at herself in the bathroom mirror after Lily was asleep. Same tired eyes, same cheap pajamas, same small apartment with secondhand furniture. Rachel was right. Eventually, Malcolm would realize she didn't fit into his life. Eventually, he'd want someone sophisticated, someone who knew about wine and art and all the things rich people cared about. Someone who could attend his business functions without embarrassing him. Someone who wasn't her. Her phone buzzed with a text from Malcolm. "Lunch tomorrow? I miss you." Emily stared at the message. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. She should tell him she was worried. She should be honest like he'd been honest with her. Instead, she typed, "I have a busy day tomorrow. Maybe later in the week?" "Okay, everything all right? Fine. Just tired. Get some rest. I'll see you soon." Emily set the phone down, her hands shaking. She'd just lied to him. After everything they'd said about honesty and communication, she'd just pushed him away with an excuse. But she couldn't help it. Rachel's words had planted a seed of doubt, and now it was growing into full-blown panic. The next day, Emily avoided Malcolm's calls. She responded to texts with brief, polite messages. When he asked if he could see her over the weekend, she said Lily had a birthday party and she was swamped with work. All lies. By Sunday evening, Malcolm showed up at her apartment unannounced. Emily opened the door to find him standing there, looking concerned. "What's going on?" he asked without preamble. "Nothing. I told you I've been busy." "Emily, don't do this." Malcolm's voice was gentle but firm. "Something changed. Talk to me." Emily wanted to shut the door, wanted to protect herself from the inevitable hurt, but she'd promised him honesty. "I overheard Rachel talking on the phone," she said quietly. "She said rich guys like you don't stick around, that eventually you'll get bored and move on. And she's right, isn't she? I don't fit into your world. I'm just a temporary distraction." Malcolm's jaw tightened. "Is that what you think?" "I don't know what to think. I just know that eventually you're going to realize I'm not enough." "Not enough for what?" "For you. For your life." "Malcolm, I work at a hotel making barely enough to pay rent. I shop at thrift stores. I don't know anything about your world. Eventually you're going to want someone who does, someone who belongs." Malcolm stepped inside and closed the door behind him. "Where's Lily?" "At Rachel's for a sleepover." "Good, because we need to talk, and I'm going to be very honest with you." Emily crossed her arms, defensive. Go ahead. First, your friend Rachel doesn't know me. She doesn't know what I want or what I value. Second, I don't care about fitting into my world. Most of my world is boring business meetings and shallow networking events. I hate it. I do it because I have to, not because I enjoy it. But I'm not finished. Malcolm moved closer. Third, you keep saying you're not enough. But not enough for what? You're kind. You're honest. You're an incredible mother. You work hard and still manage to see the good in people. You're exactly enough. You're more than enough. For now. But eventually. Eventually what? Eventually I'll wake up and decide I want someone who knows about wine pairings instead of butterfly species? Someone who can fake small talk at parties instead of actually caring about people? Malcolm's voice rose slightly. Emily, I spent 10 years avoiding intimacy because I was afraid of being used, and you're avoiding intimacy because you're afraid of being left. We're both running from the same fear. Emily's eyes stung with unshed tears. I don't know how to stop being afraid. Neither do I, but I know running doesn't work. I tried that for a decade. Malcolm took her hands. I'm not going anywhere, not because you're perfect, no one is, but because you're real. Because being with you makes me feel alive again. Because Lily asked me yesterday if I was going to be her dad someday, and instead of panicking, I found myself hoping the answer would be yes. Emily's breath caught. She asked you that? She did. And I told her that was up to you and me, but that I cared about both of you very much, and I meant it. Malcolm squeezed her hands. I'm all in, Emily. I told you that when I kissed you. I meant it then, and I mean it now. But I need to know you're all in too, because I can't do this alone. Emily thought about Rachel's words, about her own fears, about all the reasons this shouldn't work. But then she thought about Malcolm teaching Lily about clouds, about his careful honesty, about the way he saw her, really saw her, and chose to stay anyway. I'm sorry, she whispered. I should have talked to you instead of pulling away. You're talking to me now. That's what matters. I'm scared, Malcolm. I'm so scared this is going to end, and I won't survive it. I'm scared too, every single day. Malcolm pulled her into his arms. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. Emily buried her face in his chest, letting the tears finally come. Malcolm held her, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring reassurances. We're going to mess this up sometimes, he said softly. We're both carrying wounds. But we can't let fear make our decisions. We have to choose each other, even when it's scary, especially when it's scary. I want to choose you, Emily said through tears. I do. I just don't know how to stop waiting for you to leave. Then don't wait for me to leave. Trust me to stay. Malcolm tilted her face up to look at him. I'm not Lily's father. I'm not Vanessa. I'm just me, trying my best, asking you to do the same. Emily kissed him, messy and desperate and full of fear and hope in equal measure. Malcolm kissed her back, holding her like she was something precious he refused to let go. When they finally pulled apart, Emily wiped her eyes. I'm a mess. You're human. There's a difference. They moved to the couch, sitting close, Emily's head on Malcolm's shoulder. They talked for hours about their fears, about their pasts, about what they wanted from the future. Real conversation, without performance or pretense. Around midnight, Malcolm's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and sighed. I have to go. Early meeting tomorrow. He stood up reluctantly. But Emily, no more running. If something scares you, tell me. Promise? I promise. And you promise too? I promise. Malcolm kissed her forehead, then her lips, gentle and lingering. Then he left, and Emily was alone in her quiet apartment. But she didn't feel alone. She felt connected to Malcolm, to possibility, to hope. She texted Rachel before bed. I know you're worried about me, but I need you to trust that I know what I'm doing. Malcolm's not going anywhere, and neither am I. Rachel responded immediately. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said those things. I just don't want to see you hurt, I know. But I have to risk being hurt if I want to be happy. That's how love works. Emily fell asleep thinking about that, about how love required risk, about how the alternative, staying safe and alone, wasn't really safety at all. It was just another kind of prison. and she'd been locked up long enough. 3 weeks passed. Spring turned toward early summer, bringing longer days and warmer evenings. Emily and Malcolm found their rhythm, no longer tentative, no longer questioning every moment. They just existed together, building something solid and real. Malcolm spent most evenings at Emily's apartment now. He'd arrive after work with groceries, insisting on cooking dinner while Lily did homework at the kitchen table and Emily caught up on laundry or paperwork. These weren't grand romantic gestures. They were ordinary domestic moments that somehow meant more than any expensive date could. "Malcolm, you're putting too much garlic in the sauce," Emily called from the living room where she was folding clothes. "There's no such thing as too much garlic," Malcolm called back. "Yes, there is. Lily won't eat it if it's too garlicky." "Will too," Lily shouted from the table. "I like garlic now. Malcolm taught me." Emily appeared in the kitchen doorway, an unfolded shirt in her hands. "You taught my daughter to like garlic." Malcolm stirred the pasta sauce innocently. "I may have mentioned that garlic gives you superpowers, scientifically speaking. That's not science. It's close enough for 6-year-olds. Emily shook her head, smiling despite herself. "You're corrupting her." "I'm expanding her palate. There's a difference." Malcolm tasted the sauce, nodded with satisfaction. "Dinner in 10 minutes. They ate together at Emily's small table. The three of them crowded close, passing bread and salad, talking about Lily's day and Malcolm's meetings and Emily's latest conference disaster. Simple, normal, perfect. After dinner, Lily insisted Malcolm read her bedtime story. He sat on the edge of her bed, reading about a caterpillar who became a butterfly, doing different voices for each character. Emily watched from the doorway, her heart so full it hurt. This was what she'd wanted after Lily's father left. Not wealth or luxury, just someone who showed up, someone who stayed. "Good night, Malcolm," Lily said sleepily, hugging him. "Good night, Lilybug." Malcolm kissed the top of her head. "Sweet dreams about butterflies. Will you be here in the morning?" Malcolm glanced at Emily, a question in his eyes. They'd been careful about him staying over, wanting to set a good example for Lily, not rushing into anything that might confuse her, but Emily found herself nodding. "If he wants to be." "I want to be," Malcolm said softly. Lily smiled and burrowed under her covers. "Good. You make better pancakes than Mommy." "I heard that," Emily called, making Lily giggle. They left Lily's room together. Emily pulled the door mostly closed, leaving it cracked like Lily preferred. In the hallway, Malcolm wrapped his arms around Emily's waist. "Was that okay? Saying I'd stay?" "More than okay." Emily leaned into him. "I want you here. We both do." "I want to be here, not just tonight, always." Malcolm paused. "Emily, I need to tell you something." Emily's stomach clenched, automatic anxiety, even though she was trying to trust him. "Okay. My Uncle Jonathan is in town next week. He wants to meet you." "Meet me? Why?" "Because I've told him about you, about Lily, about how happy I am." Malcolm's arms tightened around her. "He's the only family I'm close to, and he wants to make sure I'm not," he trailed off. "Not what?" "Not retreating again, not building walls. He's worried I'll sabotage this because I'm scared." "Are you? Scared?" "Terrified, every day." Malcolm kissed her temple. "But I'm not retreating. I'm here. And I want Jonathan to see that, to meet the woman who made me believe in opening my heart again." Emily turned in his arms to face him. "What if he doesn't like me?" "Impossible." "Malcolm, I'm serious. What if he thinks I'm not right for you? What if—" "Emily." Malcolm cupped her face gently. "Jonathan's going to love you. Because you're kind and genuine, and you make me laugh. Because you're raising an incredible daughter. Because you see me, not my money, not my status, just me." "When does he want to meet?" "Friday evening. Dinner at his hotel. Nothing fancy. Just the three of us talking." Malcolm searched her eyes. "Will you come?" Emily thought about refusing, about all the ways this could go wrong, but she'd promised herself she'd stop running from fear. "Yes, I'll come. Thank you." Malcolm kissed her, slow and deep, full of gratitude and affection. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you, Emily. I should have said it weeks ago, but I was scared to say the words out loud. But I do. I love you." Emily's breath caught. She'd been waiting to hear those words, but now that they were spoken, they felt enormous, real, permanent. I love you too, she whispered. So much it scares me. We're scared together then. They moved to the couch, sitting in comfortable silence. Malcolm pulled her close and Emily let herself relax against him. This was real. This was happening. This was the life she'd stopped believing she could have. Friday arrived too quickly. Emily spent the day in a state of nervous energy. She'd arranged for Rachel to watch Lily, not without some awkwardness since they still hadn't fully resolved the tension from Rachel's doubts. But Rachel had apologized sincerely, and Emily was choosing to forgive. "You look beautiful," Rachel said when Emily emerged from her bedroom in her navy dress, the same one she'd worn on their first date. It was still the nicest thing she owned. "I look terrified." "You look like a woman in love who's about to meet her boyfriend's family, which is terrifying and beautiful." Rachel squeezed her hand. "You've got this. Just be yourself. That's who Malcolm fell for." Lily ran over and hugged Emily's legs. "Tell Malcolm's uncle I say hi, and tell him Malcolm makes really good pancakes." Emily laughed despite her nerves. "I'll tell him." Malcolm picked her up at 6:30. He looked unusually nervous too, checking his reflection in the rearview mirror, adjusting his collar repeatedly. "You okay?" Emily asked. "Jonathan's opinion matters to me a lot." Malcolm glanced at her. "Not more than my own feelings. But I want him to see how right this is, how happy you make me." "No pressure then," Emily said wryly. Malcolm took her hand. "He's going to love you, I promise." They drove to a different hotel than the Grand Harbor, something smaller, more boutique. Jonathan had reserved a private dining room off the main restaurant. Malcolm led Emily through the lobby, his hand steady on the small of her back. Jonathan Reed stood when they entered. He was tall like Malcolm, but thinner, with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He wore a cardigan over a button-down shirt, professorial, approachable. "Malcolm." Jonathan hugged his nephew, then turned to Emily with a warm smile. "And you must be Emily." "I'm Jonathan. It's wonderful to finally meet you." "You too." Emily shook his hand, grateful that her voice didn't shake. They sat at a small table, intimate, not intimidating. A waiter brought water and menus. Jonathan asked Emily about her work, about Lily, about her interests. He listened intently, asking follow-up questions that showed genuine curiosity. Over dinner, Jonathan told stories about Malcolm as a child, serious even then, reading philosophy books at 10, always watching and thinking before speaking. "I worried about him," Jonathan said, glancing at Malcolm. "Especially after Vanessa. I watched him shut down completely, stop seeing friends, stop dating, just worked and isolated himself." "Uncle Jonathan," Malcolm started, uncomfortable. "No, let me say this." Jonathan turned to Emily. "I'm telling you this because I want you to understand what you've done. 3 months ago, Malcolm was existing, not living. Now he calls me every week, excited to talk. He tells me about butterfly pavilions and cloud formations and making pancakes. He's alive again, Emily. You brought him back." Emily felt tears prick her eyes. "He did that himself. I was there." "You were there. That's exactly right." Jonathan smiled. "Most people wouldn't have been patient enough, wouldn't have seen past his walls to the man underneath. But you did." Malcolm reached for Emily's hand under the table, squeezing gently. "Can I ask you something personal?" Jonathan said to Emily. "Okay. What are your intentions with my nephew?" Emily blinked, surprised. "My intentions?" "I know that's usually asked of the man, but Malcolm's been hurt deeply. So I'm asking you, are you in this for real? Or is this temporary?" Emily looked at Malcolm, then back at Jonathan. "I'm in this for real. I love him. And I love who he is with my daughter, patient and present and genuinely caring. I can't promise we won't have problems. Life is complicated. But I can promise I'm not going anywhere." Jonathan studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. That's what I needed to hear." The tension eased after that. They talked about lighter things, travel plans, books they'd read, Jonathan's work as a college professor. Emily found herself relaxing, enjoying the conversation. After dinner, Jonathan walked them to the lobby. He hugged Malcolm, then surprised Emily by hugging her too. "Take care of each other," he said quietly. "And Emily, if he starts retreating, if he gets scared and tries to push you away, don't let him. Hold on, he's worth it. I know he is, Emily said. In the car, Malcolm let out a long breath. That went well. You sound surprised. I wasn't sure what he'd say, what he'd think of us. Malcolm started driving, his hand finding Emily's automatically. But he likes you, I could tell. I like him too, he cares about you a lot. He's the only person who didn't give up on me when I shut everyone out. Malcolm's voice was thick with emotion. He called every week for 10 years, even when I barely responded, just kept showing up. That's what people who love you do. They show up. Malcolm pulled over suddenly, parking on a quiet side street. He turned to face Emily, his expression intense. Marry me. Emily's heart stopped. What? Not now, not tomorrow. I'm not asking you to decide right this second. Malcolm took both her hands. But someday, when you're ready. When Lily's ready, I want to marry you, Emily. I want to be Lily's father, officially, legally. I want to build a life with both of you. And I needed you to know that, to know I'm thinking about forever. Emily's hands shook in his. Malcolm, that's a big statement. I know, and if it's too much too soon, tell me. But I've spent 10 years being careful and guarded, and I'm done with that. I know what I want. I want you. I want Lily. I want ordinary dinners and pancake breakfasts and teaching a little girl about butterflies. I want all of it. Emily thought about Lily's father, about how he'd promised forever and vanished at the first challenge, about how scared she'd been to trust anyone again. But Malcolm wasn't him. Malcolm showed up every day. Malcolm had spent 10 years protecting his heart and chose to open it anyway. For her. For them. Ask me again in 6 months, Emily said softly. When you've seen more of the hard parts, when you've lived through Lily getting sick and me being stressed and all the ordinary struggles that aren't romantic, ask me then, and I'll say yes. Malcolm's eyes widened. You will? I will, because I want forever too. But I need you to be sure, really sure. Because if I say yes now, and you change your mind later, it will break both of us. So ask me in 6 months. Let's live life together first, and then, if you still want this, ask me properly. Malcolm pulled her close, kissing her with an intensity that made her dizzy. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. 6 months, he said. I'll wait. But Emily, I'm not changing my mind. This is it for me. You're it for me. Then we have nothing to worry about. They drove back to Emily's apartment, hand in hand. Inside, Rachel was asleep on the couch again, Lily tucked beside her. Emily woke Rachel gently, paid her for watching Lily, and thanked her. After Rachel left, Malcolm carried Lily to her room without waking her. He tucked her in carefully, smoothing her hair back from her face. She's amazing, he whispered. She is. Emily stood beside him, watching her daughter sleep. She asked me yesterday if you were going to be her dad. What did you tell her? That I hoped so, someday. Malcolm turned to face her. Can I stay tonight? Not for... I just want to hold you, to wake up next to you. Emily took his hand. Come on. They got ready for bed in comfortable domesticity. Malcolm borrowed a t-shirt. Emily changed into pajamas. They climbed into her bed, small and not fancy, but theirs. Malcolm pulled her close, her back against his chest, his arm around her waist. I meant what I said, he murmured into her hair. 6 months. Then I'm asking you properly. And I meant what I said. I'll say yes. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, safe, home. 6 months later, winter had arrived. Emily stood in Malcolm's apartment, not the hotel suite anymore, but a real home he'd bought 3 months ago. 3 bedrooms, 1 decorated with butterflies for Lily, comfortable furniture, a real kitchen where he made pancakes every Saturday. They'd moved slowly, deliberately. Malcolm had met Emily's sister via video call. Emily had learned about Malcolm's business, attending occasional functions with him, and learning she could handle fancy events better than she'd thought. Lily had started calling Malcolm Dad, a hybrid that made them both laugh and cry. They'd fought, real arguments about money and parenting decisions and whose turn it was to do dishes. But they'd worked through each conflict with honesty and patience. They'd chosen each other every single day. Now it was Christmas Eve. Lily was with Rachel for a sleepover so Emily and Malcolm could exchange gifts privately. They sat on his couch, the tree lights casting soft shadows. "I have something for you," Malcolm said. He looked nervous, more nervous than she'd seen him in months. "Malcolm, we said no expensive gifts." "This isn't expensive." "Well, it is, but that's not the point." He pulled out a small box and Emily's breath caught. 6 months, she whispered. 6 months and 2 weeks. But who's counting? Malcolm opened the box, revealing a simple ring, gold band with a single modest diamond. "Emily Carter, you walked into my hotel room by accident and walked into my heart on purpose. You taught me that opening up isn't weakness, it's courage. You showed me that love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up every day and choosing each other even when it's hard." Tears streamed down Emily's face. "You're an incredible mother, an amazing partner, and my best friend," Malcolm continued. "I want to spend the rest of my life making pancakes with too much syrup, teaching Lily about the world, and falling asleep next to you every night. Will you marry me?" Emily launched herself into his arms, nearly knocking him backward. "Yes, yes, absolutely yes." Malcolm caught her, holding her tight, the ring box pressed between them. They kissed through tears and laughter, 7 months of love and trust and choosing each other, culminating in this perfect moment. When they finally pulled apart, Malcolm slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "I love you," Emily said. "I love you so much. I love you too, both of you, you and Lily, my family." They held each other as snow began to fall outside, visible through the large windows. Emily thought about the scared, lonely woman she'd been 7 months ago, about how one wrong turn had led to everything right. "What are you thinking?" Malcolm asked softly. "That I'm grateful I got the room number wrong. That mistakes can be blessings." Emily looked up at him. "That it's never too late to open your heart." "Never too late," Malcolm agreed, kissing her forehead. "I spent 10 years closed off, and then you crashed into my room and crashed into my life. Best mistake anyone ever made." "We should tell Lily in the morning. Can we pick her up early?" "Already arranged it with Rachel. We'll get her at 8 and then I'm making celebration pancakes." "With too much syrup? Is there any other way?" They spent the rest of the evening planning. Not a big wedding, just something simple with the people they loved. Uncle Jonathan would be there, Rachel and Lily, of course. Maybe Emily's sister could fly in. Around midnight, they finally went to bed, curled together in Malcolm's king-sized bed that still felt new. "Are you happy?" Malcolm asked in the darkness. "So happy I'm afraid I'll wake up and this will be a dream." "Not a dream, I'm real. This is real." Malcolm's hand found hers, his thumb tracing over the ring. "We're real." Emily fell asleep secure in that truth. Real. Lasting. Worth the risk. 3 months later. The wedding was small, just 30 people in a botanical garden filled with butterflies. Lily wore a purple dress and carried flowers, her job as flower girl taken very seriously. She'd insisted on scattering extra petals because butterflies like flowers. Emily wore a simple white dress, not expensive, but beautiful. Malcolm wore a dark suit and cried when she walked down the aisle on Uncle Jonathan's arm. They wrote their own vows. Malcolm promised to always be honest, to show up even when scared, to love both Emily and Lily with everything he had. Emily promised to choose him every day, to trust him with her heart, to build a life full of ordinary moments that meant everything. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Malcolm cupped Emily's face gently and kissed her like she was air and he'd been drowning. At the reception, just dinner at their favorite casual restaurant, Lily climbed into Malcolm's lap. "So you're my dad now?" she asked. "If you want me to be." "I do. Can I call you Dad instead of Malcolm, Dad?" Malcolm's eyes filled with tears. "I would love that." "Okay. Hi, Dad." "Hi, Lilybug." Emily watched them, her heart overflowing. She thought about the scared woman who'd walked into a hotel suite 7 months ago, about the lonely man who'd kept himself isolated for a decade, about how they'd both been so afraid of being hurt again, but they'd chosen courage instead of fear. They'd chosen each other. Uncle Jonathan made a toast. "To Malcolm and Emily, 2 people who proved it's never too late to let someone in. May you continue to choose each other every single day through ordinary moments and extraordinary challenges. To love and courage. To love and courage, everyone echoed. That night, in their bedroom, their shared space now, full of both their belongings, Malcolm held Emily close. Any regrets? He asked. Not a single one. You? Only that I waited 10 years to find you. But then again, maybe I needed those 10 years to be ready for you. Malcolm kissed her shoulder. Everything happens when it's supposed to. Profound words from a man who tried to calculate the exact probability of love working out. I still can't calculate it, but I know it's real. Emily turned in his arms. It's real. We're real. We did it, Malcolm. We let each other in and we didn't break. We didn't break, he agreed. We built something instead. They fell asleep as a husband and wife, Lily asleep in the next room with her butterfly nightlight glowing. A family, imperfect and real and full of love. 1 year later, Malcolm woke to the smell of burning pancakes. He smiled, threw on a robe, and walked to the kitchen to find Emily frantically, waving a dish towel at the smoke detector while Lily laughed at the table. I wanted to surprise you, Emily said sheepishly, but apparently I'm still not good at pancakes. That's why you have me. Malcolm kissed her cheek, took over at the stove, and started fresh pancakes. What's the occasion? No occasion, just Saturday. He loved that about their life now, that ordinary Saturdays felt like celebrations. They ate breakfast together, Malcolm's properly cooked pancakes, not Emily's charred ones. Lily told them about a school project on monarch migration. Emily talked about a promotion at work. She'd moved into conference management, a job with better pay and regular hours. After breakfast, Malcolm cleaned up while Emily and Lily worked on homework. Later, they'd go to the park, then maybe dinner with Uncle Jonathan, who visited monthly now. Simple, ordinary, perfect. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Malcolm and Emily stood in their backyard. The night was clear, stars visible despite city lights. What are you thinking about? Emily asked, leaning against him. About how scared I was when you first walked into my hotel room, how close I came to never calling you, never taking that risk. But you did. But I did, because something told me you were worth being scared for. Malcolm turned her to face him. I was right. You were worth everything. Emily kissed him softly. You were worth everything too. Worth trusting again. Worth believing in love again. They stood there in comfortable silence, two people who'd found each other when both had stopped looking, who'd chosen courage over fear, who'd built a life from honesty and patience and showing up every single day. Inside, their daughter slept peacefully. Around them, their home stood solid and warm. And in Malcolm's chest, where his heart had been locked away for 10 years, there was only openness now. Only love. He'd spent a decade protecting himself from pain. And then Emily had walked through the wrong door and taught him that some things were worth the risk. Love was worth the risk. Family was worth the risk. Living, really living with an open heart, was worth every moment of fear. Ready for bed? Emily asked. Ready. Malcolm took her hand and they walked inside together. Ready for sleep. Ready for tomorrow. Ready for whatever came next, because they were in it together now. And that made everything possible. The end.